Thank you, Bill, and welcome everybody. This is our third set of panels that we've had in this annual meeting from various Quaker organizations, and it's been very exciting to learn about what people are doing around the country and the world as part of our Quaker movement. And we're excited today to have 4 more organizations with us. We'll follow the same pattern that we have been doing. If you were with us, if you're not, I'll explain it briefly. We will give each organization 10 minutes to tell us about the roots and trunk and branch and fruits of their organization. At the end of that time, which will be about 12:45, we will split into breakout rooms, and everybody can choose which organization you want to go hear more about. The schedule officially has us ending at 1 o'clock. There is, however, no session right after this one, unlike the last time, so that if 15 minutes isn't enough for your group, we will not close the rooms until 1:15 or thereabouts, so that each individual group can decide how long you want to keep meeting and keep talking. The groups we have today are Quaker Earthcare Witness, QEW, Friends for Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Concerns, FLGBTQC, Quaker United Nations Office, you pronounce it QUNO? Yep, okay. And Beacon Hill Friends House. So we welcome all of you today. I'm going to go in that order, no, it's not that order. I'm going alphabetically. So actually Beacon Hill Friends House will be first. Do we have our Jennifer and Nils here? Yeah, there's Nils. Is Jennifer?
Well, friends, Jennifer will not be able to join us today. She is ill, but she sends her.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But so we will start with you. The order will be alphabetical. So FLGBTQC will come next after you. So we'll, and the other quick thing, I have this, whoops, it's upside down. There's a little card that I will hold up that says 1 minute when you've used 9 minutes. I've found in some of the other groups, people don't necessarily see it. So if it's getting close to your 10 minutes, I will just turn off my mute and say, you're getting there. So with no further ado, Nils, we'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll set my own timer as well here. Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be invited and to get to spend a little time with you all. I've never attended Lake Erie Yearly Meeting, although I have met, I know at least a couple of you, and at the Friends General Conference gathering a couple years ago, or a few years ago, met some friends from Lake Erie, and in fact, kept on meeting more and more. So it's great to finally be visiting you, even if virtually here. And I'm excited to get to share a little bit about the Beacon Hill Friends House. And I will put together a little slide deck, not to be overly formal, but because visuals are nice sometimes. Oh. Now you're getting a sneak peek at the end here. So my name is Nils Klinkenberg. I'll just start with that. And I serve as executive director of the Beacon Hill Friends House. I've been here about 5 years. And I'm going to tell you a bit about the house. Tried to go with the roots, trunk, fruits theme, at least in thinking my way through it. I didn't strain the metaphor too far. But including, how is this relevant to friends in Lake Erie Yearly Meeting? What's some house in Boston have to do with you all? Let's find out. So the Friends House is it's a big old building in downtown Boston. It's historic and old. There's some beautiful spaces. There's something missing. What's going? The people. This is what really the Friends House is about. Yes, there is a big old building in downtown Boston, and I will tell you the story of it briefly. But the really exciting thing is, of course, the friends, capital F and lowercase. the people who pass through it, who use it, who live there, who worship there. And that's what's really exciting about it. So our mission, we have a mission statement. Here it is. To embody the Quaker principles of faith, simplicity, integrity, community, and social responsibility in order to nurture and lift and call forth the light in all of us. Which is great, but that doesn't actually tell you what we do or how. Okay, so let's get into that a little. The basics, there is a large house on the unceded land of the Massachusetts people, which we now know as downtown Boston, Massachusetts. It's two neighboring brick row houses. They were built in the early 1800s, combined in 1920. They were just private homes, mansions maybe, if you will, donated in 1957 to become a Quaker Center for Community Living and Learning. An independent nonprofit organization was formed to accept that gift. So we are not owned by Yearly Meeting, by New England Yearly Meeting, but we are a part of and within it. It's rather large too, 14,000 square feet. If that means anything to you, 18 bedrooms, there's a bunch of common spaces, courtyards. What does the Friends House do? Well, I think my animation isn't showing up here, but we are a residential community. About 20 people live at the house at any one point in time, can stay up to 4 years, and then it's time to make space and let someone else come in and have that spot. And we've been like that since 1957, more or less. I have not been there the whole time, like I said, but for 65 years, this has been in downtown Boston, a Quaker center, and really anchored by that residential community, as well as by, at the bottom here, the Beacon Hill Friends meeting. There is a meeting that meets in the large meeting room, and also now online. And that's been the case for at least 5 decades, I think. So technically it is a separate organization, and they are a tenant, but really it's a sibling relationship. And that's where I attend meeting. I grew up attending Framingham Friends meeting and New England Yearly Meeting as well, by the way. We do hospitality as a program of the house. We have 2 overnight guest rooms. We also share use of our large spaces, a 2-story meeting room and courtyard and parlor. So that's all great if you're in the Boston area. And if you ever are passing through, I sincerely and warmly would invite you to come visit, get in touch beforehand. Even if you don't, just ring the doorbell. During the work week, I'm there. I would love to show you around. That's one of the joys of my job. But I think most relevant for Lake Erie Friends is this public programs part. And I want to talk a little bit more about that in depth, because in the before times, the pre-pandemic era, the Friends House board had been thinking about, all right, we have this great old building. We have this residential community that's working pretty well. This meeting room sitting empty a lot of the time, not on Sunday mornings, maybe once a month. We organized a talk, a panel discussion, but that's really not being used and useful in a way that that we'd like it to be, and that we have the opportunity to. So even before my time at the organization, the board started fundraising and a big effort, managed to hire a program manager, a full-time staff person to coordinate public programs and outreach, bring other groups into our space. And then the pandemic happened and we pivoted to online. And I'm sorry that my colleague Jen is not here, because but I will give her huge credit for this. Jen Higgins-Newman is a force of nature. I am very lucky to work with her. And some of you may know her. She gets around the Quaker world and has been very active, but she has made, out of pandemic lemons, more and better lemonade than I would have dreamed possible, friends. Let's talk a little bit more about that. There's Jen in the front, in the mask. This is one of the hybrid workshops we ran, or she ran earlier this year. Jen does not facilitate all our programs, although she is a great facilitator. That was one of our vocational discernment workshops. I'll speak about a little later. But broadly, we've come to think about our public programming, that side of the Friends House, which is again now all hybrid pretty much. So almost everything we do has an online component and is available to friends and others beyond these three categories of spiritual deepening and exploration, connecting in community, and supporting spirit-led action. So one or more of those things. Maybe there's one that doesn't fit in, but that's kind of the broad categories we think of. And especially that first one, spiritual deepening and exploration. I have not, in the 10 minutes I have here, I'm not going to run through all of the events that we have or plan to have, but I have here in the past 2 years, it's at least 1,200 unique participants. And I do use participants rather than attendees intentionally, because our programs we really strive to make them interactive even through Zoom. There's some sort of interpersonal component, whether it's breakout groups or discussion. It's not just lectures or webinars. I think in the past year we had, let's say 80 events, which sounds ridiculous, but that's if you count like all the weekly things and a meditation session, all that. So there's a broad range, friends from all over the country and otherwise, some non-Quakers as well. And that relates to one thing about Beacon Hill Friends House that I wanted to mention as well, that I think we have an opportunity as a house that is explicitly Quaker and has a long tradition of that, but that is, the residents certainly are mostly not Quakers. And many people who come to our events know us because they live in the neighborhood, or they are an alumnus of the house, they used to live there, or a friend invites them. And there's a real opportunity there, not just for Boston area folks, but I think in the way we approach our programming, as we're a different kind of ambassador for friends than a meeting in most cases is or could be, I might say. And obviously the lifeblood of the Religious Society of Friends, it's our monthly meetings, our local meetings. Thank you, Susan. But being able to, there are some people who might be interested in the Quaker buffet. Friends have a lot to offer, traditions, practices, and we think of ourselves as providing one form of approachable and accessible entry points to that. Our programs are at our website, hfh.org/events. We also have recordings of over 60 past programs. I think I don't have time here to talk in depth about this, but we just want to highlight something really neat from the past year. We, Jen and friend Greg Woods, who also gets around the Quaker world, some folks may know, but developed a vocational discernment curriculum and workshop with some outside grant support, building on Quaker traditions and practices of clearness committees and discernment and listening to the inner teacher, and have a nice booklet there. We have this beautiful art on the bottom right there. It's one example illustrated by Joey Hartman Dow, who's a friend from, I believe, Philadelphia area. And we've been taking that around on a road show. Jen and Greg presented at Earlham College in Guilford and Friends Camp in Maine. And so we're excited to keep sharing that as well. And we like collaborating with other organizations too. I think I'm out of time. But thank you for the opportunity, and I welcome being in touch with any of you, or later in this session too. Would love to chat more.
Great, thanks very much, Nils. It's amazing how what was more a local organization has suddenly become open to all of us. So thank you. The next group will be FLGBTQC. And let's see, I'm looking through the pictures. I know that Neil is here. Others, Jed is here. So we will turn it over to you.
Good morning, friends. My name is Jed Walsh. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I live on occupied Duwamish land, also known as Seattle, Washington. I'm a member of University Friends Meeting, which is part of North Pacific Yearly Meeting. And this is my first time being at Lake Erie Yearly Meeting. So it's great to meet all of you. I grew up in Des Moines and attended Des Moines Valley Friends Meeting. So that's my closest geographic connection to friends in close to your region. Neil, do you want to introduce yourself?
Neil seems to have disappeared from the list of participants, so I'm not sure what happened.
Okay, I see him now, but just his video is gone. So maybe he's having internet problems or some other issues. But maybe he'll have a chance to introduce himself to you all later. And if I didn't say so, I've been part of FLGBTQC, which I'm going to give the presentation about since 2014. And I'm going to share my screen and a little PowerPoint presentation that I made. Sorry, I haven't been on Zoom in too long doing this. Okay, are people seeing the slides, the first slide?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, friends. So I am here to talk about Friends for Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Concerns, or FLGBTQC for short. So like Nils, I used the roots, trunk, and fruits language. So for roots, the first thing I wanted to talk about was a bit of our history. So we were founded in 1970 under the name the Committee of Concern. In 1975, we became Friends Committee on Gay Concerns. In 1978, we changed our name again to Friends for Lesbian and Gay Concerns. And in 2003, we adopted the long name that we now go by, Friends for Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Concerns. I also wanted to talk about our community's history during the AIDS epidemic. During that time, we established a fund for suffering, which is a financial fund that our community holds that provides assistance to those people in our community who are experiencing hardship, often due to health issues. So that's one of our community's ongoing ministries and a program that we have supported for many years. And then another part of our history that's been really meaningful to me is that FLGBTQC has a collection of minutes from meetings around the United States supporting same-sex marriage, as well as minutes affirming transgender people. And all those minutes are documented on our website. So that's something that friends can view and that is an important part of our history. Okay. For our current projects, the trunk of our work right now, our community holds an online worship once a month. That was started during 2020. As a weekly worship, and then a few months ago transitioned into being held once a month, but that's an open space that anyone can participate in and attend. We hold midwinter and summer gatherings that are open to everyone. Our midwinter gathering is a separate event that's held in February of every year, and summer gatherings are part of FGC Summer Gathering. We also hold meetings and spaces for transgender and non-binary friends. And we have an email listserv that allows the community to be in touch with each other across and in between gatherings and other spaces. Okay, for fruits, I was thinking about joys and things that are currently moving in our community. A big piece of news for FLGBTQC is that at our last business meeting, we affirmed that we're moving away from a structure of co-clerks and committees, and we're starting to experiment with having friends work together in teams instead. And we'll also be holding a midwinter gathering next year in February of 2023. The gathering will be entirely virtual, all ages, and pay as led, and everyone is welcome to attend that. And then for seeds, I wanted to encourage friends that we love to have new people join us, and there are many ways to get involved. You can attend our online worship that's once a month on the first Saturday of every month. There's Midwinter Gathering coming up in February of next year. We have a website that's here, and meetings can also donate to FLGBTQC. So I wanted to encourage friends to consider that. And that is all that I had to present.
My name is Neil Fullagar, and I apologize for being in and out. I've been having some technical issues. I'm a member of San Francisco Friends Meeting, and yeah, what I just said. And we'll be around. We'll be in a breakout room for anybody who wants to find out more. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, both Jen and Neil. And I'm glad you got back and could introduce yourself. Our next group is Quaker Earthcare Witness, QEW, and Shelley Tanenbaum will be presenting for QEW.
Unmute Shelley.
I'm muted, Shelley.
Oh, of course. What would Zoom be without somebody forgetting to unmute themselves, right? I've also set this up so that I could talk to you about our history, our roots, our mission, and our current status, or our trunk and our branches. And in keeping with the theme for Lake Erie's yearly meeting, I will try to focus that way. My name is Shelley Tanenbaum. I'm the General Secretary for Quaker Earthcare Witness, and I'm from Strawberry Creek Meeting in Berkeley, California, part of Pacific Yearly Meeting. Quaker Earthcare Witness's roots run deep in Lake Erie Yearly Meeting. 36 years ago, a group of friends attended a workshop at the FGC gathering at Oberlin College, led by Bill and Alice Howenstein from McHenry, Illinois. And I'm imagining that many of you here know Bill and Alice. I don't know if they're here at the yearly meeting, but they were instrumental in getting Quaker Earthcare Witness together. It was then known as Friends Committee on Unity with Nature. That year, Marshall Massey gave a plenary at the gathering, and he spoke about the need for a Quaker testimony on unity with nature. And these friends wrote an epistle, and I'm going to read just a small piece of it. They said, "We believe right relationship with our natural environment is basic to the achievement of peace and a just social order, and the equitable distribution of world's resources, both today and through generations to come." They went on to say, there's a need for friends to give forceful witness to the holiness of creation. So right then and there, in a phenomenal speed for Friends, they formed an organization called, originally, as I said, called Friends Committee on Unity with Nature. And we're now known as Quaker Earthcare Witness. We're dedicated to a corporate testimony on living in unity with nature. So in addition to the roots of the Howensteins from Lake Erie Yearly Meeting, some of you may remember the Blisses. I know you all know Tom Small, Al Connor. There are probably plenty of other people here that I'm not aware of that you may know. You can call out their names, or maybe you're one of them who were part of forming Quaker Earthcare Witness. Isabel Bliss was our first clerk for the new organization. And we're still dedicated to that original purpose. Using my words, I would say we work on ecological integrity and environmental justice. We're grounded in this work through a spiritual sense of unity with nature, with all living beings, and with all the wonder and complexity of the natural world. We have 3 dedicated staff. You can say we're a small but mighty Quaker organization. Haley Hathaway and I are co-directors, and Emily Carroll, who recently graduated from Earlham School of Religion with a master's in divinity, is our technical assistant. We follow Quaker process in our governance. We have a 50-member steering committee. It's made up of representatives from yearly meetings and at-large members throughout North America. But as to our branches, leaves, and fruit, this is what we're up to in the near future. We offer online and in-person talks at meetings. I'm going to share a link in the chat that will give you a way to see the kind of sessions that, let's see if I can get to the chat, the kind of talks that we can provide to your meeting. We're happy to come to you online and eventually back in person, but we'll be continuing online workshops for quite a while. We have a range of speakers who can come and present. If your meeting's feeling a little stalled on what to do about Earthcare, we're happy to come and maybe give you a little kickstart in terms of inspiring and empowering friends to take on these challenging issues. We as an organization are a Quaker public voice on Earthcare. We collaborate on campaigns such as support for water protectors at Standing Rock. And last year we were very involved with Line 3 in Minnesota, and several of us went out to Minnesota, including myself. We publish a quarterly newsletter that showcases what friends are doing about Earthcare with stories that are inspiring, empowering. If you have stories that you want to share with North American friends, sign up to get our newsletter. If you want to see what friends are doing, sign up and see the range that friends are doing on Earthcare. We're a little bit like, if you know Yes Magazine, we're kind of the Quaker version of Yes, focused on environmental justice and Earthcare. Later this summer, we're going to be offering 2 specific projects. We'll be joining with an international team, including Quaker Action Team, to pressure Vanguard to stop investing in fossil fuels. Vanguard is one of the largest investors in fossil fuels, despite advertising themselves as an investment firm for the average person. So we'll be focusing on that in September, October. We're also going to be launching a series of climate grief workshops. So many of us are stalled in this work. We know we're facing daunting climate challenges, and many of us are grieving for all of those who are already seriously impacted by climate chaos. Just this summer, we've seen unprecedented heat waves globally, from South Asia to Europe to the Western US. Many of us are overwhelmed by the thought of the kind of future we're facing and the world we are leaving to our children and grandchildren. I recently became a grandparent for the first time, and I look at this 1-month-old and I just want to leave these children a better place to live in. So I'd like to invite you to join us for these workshops on climate grief. And I'm going to put another link in the chat that will take you exactly to that part of our webpage to consider attending that, because I know it's a stop for many of us. For me, talking about Earthcare is a joy, and it's very difficult. Personally, I feel spirit when I walk in the woods or when I'm at the ocean. I spend a lot of time in the Great Lakes region. I'm from California, but my husband grew up in Midland, Michigan, and for over 40 years, we've been visiting his parents there. I love walking in the Michigan forests. I love taking in that special damp aroma. You know, those of you who know those forests know what I mean. I can feel spirit walking with me when I'm there. I can also feel the presence of the Chippewa, the Ottawa, the Potawatomi. Each year when I return, I learn more about the history of the Indigenous people in the area and their continued presence. Our Earth isn't healthy right now, which means that all of us are living today and well into the future. That we're feeling the pain of what's going on. The poorer people of the Earth, most often the people of color and Indigenous people, tend to bear the brunt of the problems. Climate chaos, there's crashing biodiversity, polluted air and water. So I hope you'll find a way to join QEW friends. this is not work that anyone can do alone. And we're here to work together to focus on what we can do together and find way forward. So I appreciate the time you've spent listening, and I'll be happy to offer more in the sections after this. So thanks for inviting me here.
Thank you, Shelley. And as I've said in each of the other sessions, I'm really glad we decided to do this, because we're learning a lot from organizations that we've been tossing initials around for a long time, and this helps us get a little more in depth. So the final group for today's session is Quaker United Nations Office, QUNO, and I will turn it over to Tim, who, there he is. Good.
Great, thank you. I just have a small presentation as well. So my name is Tim Koch. I'm a program assistant with the Quaker United Nations Office. I've been working with them since December of 2021. And prior to joining QUNO, I've had some experience with the United Nations, working with the United Nations Joint Program on HIV and AIDS, as well as the United Nations Development Program. And most recently, prior to QUNO, I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Ethiopia. Currently, I live in New York City, just a few short bus rides away from our office that's across from the main United Nations building. And I'm grateful for the chance that you're providing me with to share more about our work. So to understand the work of Quakers at the UN, we need to begin by going back to the original intent of founding of the United Nations. And the United Nations was founded in the aftermath of World War II under devastating consequences that countries came together to form an international body with the aim of preventing future violent conflict. And the aim of the United Nations today is to ensure safety and security of people and communities around the world. And this was all laid out in the United Nations Charter in 1945. In 1947, Quakers applied for accreditation at the UN and began working in New York the following year. Since that time, we have worked actively with diplomats and UN officials to implement the vision of peace and human rights protection laid out in the UN Charter. And this photo is actually of Eleanor Roosevelt with one of the most important UN documents, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, who she was a big advocate for. So a large portion of our work at the UN is providing quiet spaces away from the formality of UN meetings. This is to try to take diplomats out of their comfort zone and of the cameras and of the media, and to try to provide them of a different space and a different atmosphere to be more open and more willing to have constructive conversations. And in our work, we strive to provide a diversity of concerns, UN views and perspectives before UN decision makers. And this allows UN officials and diplomats to receive information they might not otherwise be able to access. Ultimately, our goal is to work with UN officials and diplomats to expand the number of people who are committed to learning from grassroots perspectives. And only when peace initiatives truly respond to community needs will the mission fulfill itself as promoter of lasting peace worldwide. And central to our work is Quaker House. This is a photo of Quaker House. It's a few blocks away from the UN, the main UN building on 3rd Avenue. It's a beautiful space. Lately, due to the pandemic, we've been enjoying meetings out on the terrace that you can see through the window, but it's really a special and beautiful place. And if you're ever in New York City, I'd really like to invite you to come and see it. It's not something that you think of a traditional New York house or kind of shoebox apartment that I might be living in. So our work in action. These two photos are one is from an event me and my supervisor Megan held this year, and also on the right, our director Sarah Clark with two of her colleagues from Myanmar at a meeting at the Danish mission. Sarah has overwhelming experience in Myanmar and interest in the country, so she does a lot of work on that. But if I could speak to, more importantly, this webinar we held, this was at the Stockholm Forum on Peace and Development. It's a yearly gathering that kind of brings together academics, government officials, UN officials, policymakers to try to have constructive conversation and think of solutions for the world's global development challenges. And this year's theme was under climate change. So we held an event on the impacts of climate change on peace building and vice versa. And initially, the connection between climate change and conflict isn't something that I can only speak for myself, but I automatically did not make the link. But when you go deeper into specific country cases, it really comes forward. So our presentation focused on West and Central Africa, specifically a region that they called the Sahel. And they frequently experience conflicts between farmers and nomadic herders. And with changing climate patterns, weather, different wet and dry seasons, this is causing traditional nomadic herders to alter their grazing patterns, and frequently that will turn into conflict with farmers. And our panel had people from the Food and Agriculture Organization, the United Nations Development Program, the Peace Building Fund, and the United Nations Department for Peace Building and Political Affairs. And they all offered various examples and solutions on how tools such as conflict analysis and other various traditionally peace building tools, when added a climate change lens, it also makes the solutions more holistic. So both our Geneva offices, both our New York and Geneva offices represent Quakers at the UN around the world on behalf of the Friends World Committee for Consultation, or FWCC. And FWCC is accredited to the UN, giving it the ability to participate and speak in official UN meetings. And this work is carried out both at our offices in New York and Geneva. So I get my pass to go into the United Nations under the accreditation of FWCC. And in addition to our relationship with FWCC, American Friends Service Committee serves as our other parent organization. For instance, I'm an employee of American Friends Service Committee, and that we also receive significant financial support and administrative support for AFSC. And this photo is from our last committee meeting held at Pendle Hill, just outside of Philadelphia this past year. And this is our governing body who helps come together and form the planned and future strategic plans of the organization. And next year we'll be celebrating our 75th anniversary. And it's really an opportunity to come and reflect on achievements and look towards the future. And as part of this celebration, we're looking for opportunities to connect and reinvigorate our connections to Quaker communities. So we'd really welcome different feedback. And if you want to stay in touch, I'll put a link in the chat to sign up to receive our regular updates. And also, you can also contact our office if you'd like someone from our office to continue speaking with you or host a speaker from our office. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. We've timed this just the way we planned to, which is always nice. We have time for the breakout rooms. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Bill, who will set up breakout rooms, encourage each organization representative to get into the group that has your name on it, and encourage everybody else to join the group that you would like to hear more about. As I say, we formally go until 1 o'clock. It's up to each individual group if you want to keep going until 1:30. I think the rooms will be turned off at 1:30.